Is Neymar really going to land in the American Midwest? An American soccer club confirms it's going to rebrand. And who is on your all-time MLS player wish list? That and more on Friday's edition of Morning Kickaround. Hello and welcome to the show. You found your way to Morning Kickaround, the show that dots the map of the ever-changing American soccer landscape. How you feeling? Hope you're doing well. My name, Robert Kerr, local soccer guy. And to my side, my partner in this adventure, Jason Davis, radio soccer guy. How you feeling?
I'm good. Happy Friday to everybody. I mean, I'm okay. I'm coming out of a midweek cold that just absolutely killed me on Wednesday, slightly better yesterday. Feeling like it's trying to make a comeback right now. It's a remontada situation for the cold, but I'm going to fight it off. I'm gonna do the job. So I'm ready to go. It's going to be a good Friday. I see all of our ultras are checking in. Shout out to everybody. Mr. Bob, who we're going to get a sweatshirt out to, a sweated shirt or a hoodless sweatshirt, as they're also called. He has ordered one and it went to the wrong place. So we're going to get him one. Also, everybody who has said hi, Dwayne, Tim, Chris, Kate, Ryan, by the big lake, Bill, Jeff, everybody, shout out. Thank you for being here on a Friday. Armando, thank you for being here on a Friday.
I'm more of a silver linings guy than you, I think, Jason, because I feel like if you had a midweek cold, that sets you up for the best part of the cycle for the weekend.
No, but what I'm saying is,
when you're coming out of being sick, you appreciate the health so
much.
No,
but the concern is that this lingers and ruins the weekend, because while I might be able to be, active and engaged with the world, and there's an 8 a.m. T-ball game tomorrow, Rob. 8 a.m.
Ooh,
yeah.
Showdown at 8 a.m. sharp. That sounds
we have to pick. I know this is a soccer show, and my kid will play soccer. Don't worry, but I have to pick up. We have to pick up. We have to pick a walk-up song for my kid.
No way. That's fun, but also ridiculous and over the top.
I was surprised. Let me just say, I was surprised that when I heard we had to pick up a walk-up song. But it's whatever. They're 5. They're going to be excited.
Kudos to the local ball field for having like the facilities and the infrastructure to have a PA system for the kids to have their walk-up songs. Kudos to them, unless it's the family bringing like a boom box or something.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how that's going to go down. I will report. Now, we have business. I know you've outlined the topics for today's show. Now, there is, again, an opportunity for a bonus topic, and we've got a poll which we're going to put on the screen today. These are your choices for our bonus topic today. Should we cover Argentina goes SEC, because there's a story out about where Lionel Messi and Argentina might be playing their warm-up friendlies for the World Cup? Or should we talk about MLS local television rights off some quotes that the president of NYCFC, Brad Sims, had a couple weeks back, because there's something interesting there to unpack about what's next for MLS on television post-Apple deal. I would also like to mention, we're going to take the vote, and we're going to cover one of these things. But for the Ultras only, we've got an update on the American Soccer League, or Brian York and the attempt to launch something in New England, Mass Rising. If you remember our unpacking of this story, was that Wednesday as well, Rob? When we went into that, or was that Monday? It was one of the days of this week.
Yeah.
When we took on this concept of a soccer league launching in Massachusetts, and this founder kind of guy in Brian York. Now, he has responded to us. You may have seen him in the comments on some of our videos. We have some updates on that. So if you would like to know more about what's going on there, become an Ultra. Our goal today is 10. I see we've already got 2 gift memberships handed out by Mr. Bob and by Bill Barrett. Shout out to both of you. Shout out to CD Gobjex, who's here as well, to Pablo, who's voted in the poll. Might be the only one to vote. Dave's also voted. Everybody wants to talk about local MLS TV rights. So Tim as well. Okay, so we're off to a running start here, Rob.
Yeah, we got some good stuff on the show. Going to talk Neymar, going to talk about a MLS rebrand and a wish list for the all-time players you'd like to see come with, glitzy names or whatever, who you'd like to be with. That fourth topic, like you said, between TV rights and Argentina, and then to round it all off with a members only segment. So Before we get to the meat and potatoes of the show, I remind you to support the show. You can subscribe, become an MK Ultra, where you can get your comments on screen during these live shows, bonus content, and access to the Morning Kick Around Discord server, where there's some really good conversations on all sorts of topics regarding the world's game being played here and abroad. I mean, there's local MLS, USL, national team threads, as well as threads for stuff going on in Europe as well. And speaking of founders and builders, there are MK Ultras building their own clubs or already have built their own club. So shout out to those guys, and just the great community that's really the epicenter of it being the Discord server, and it's great conversation there.
Yeah, I mean, we got the cross section.
Even if you don't have the dollaroos to jump into the community at a monetary level, evangelizing and telling people that are curious about this show.
Yeah, absolutely. So George was asking about the poll. The poll is on the screen. I think you should be able to see the poll. If you guys can't see it's on the screen. Should be out there. It's a matter of just typing 1 or 2. If you type 1, you vote for Argentina goes SEC. If you type 2, you vote for MLS local television rights discussion. I think right now I see where this is headed. We may have to cancel the poll because I think we've got a winner already. But Rob is showing off his wonderful Mr. Bob mug. So go get yourself one of those at the store. Let's get started, Rob. Let's get into the news.
All right. Kicking long balls on Friday's edition of Morning Kick Around. Hot news here on Friday morning, talking about it on Morning Kick Around. Brazilian superstar Neymar in the news. The Athletic reporting this week that Cincinnati are in preliminary discussions with Neymar to join Major League Soccer at the end of his contract. What do you think of this? Where does this rank on your reality meter, Jason?
Well, it's such a weird story, and I don't blame the reporter involved. This is a Tom Bogert special. Actually, Paul Tenorio's involved as well. So this is a tag team effort at the Athletic from Tom and Paul. And I guess I don't blame them, but I read the story and I just don't understand if there's any real meat on this bone. It says FC Cincinnati has engaged Neymar's camp in preliminary discussions about a move. The sources cautioned that the discussions around the Brazilian star are in the very early stages. Cincy is gauging Neymar's interest and requirements while also having internal conversations about whether pushing to sign the global superstar makes sense. This is the concepts of a plan.
Yeah,
right? This is not a plan. This is not an actual discussion. This is not a negotiation. They're not sitting down hammering out contract details. Neymar isn't visiting Cincinnati. He's not learning about the local cuisine. Like, do you get it 3-way, 5-way? What? How many ways are there?
You're talking about the chili?
Yeah, how many ways?
I think it's 5. It's got to be 5.
5?
Three's barely notable, right?
Okay, so onions, cheese. I don't remember what all the ways are. Okay, but is Neymar actually interested? I don't even know. There's not even really, they're gauging his interest. What does that mean?
Yeah, I come into this skeptical as well, because it's not the first time, not even the first time with this player that international star players have dangled the transfer to MLS as a way to leverage contracts in other places. And there's nothing here, like you said, that makes me think that that's any more than that. I mean, it sure would be exciting to see one of the famous faces of world football land, in the Midwest. But, my red flag of, bait-o-meter is going off on this story.
Well, whether this is, so it is all framed as though this is from Cincinnati's direction, projecting out potentially. Again, it's almost like, well, Neymar's a big name. It'd be cool if he wanted to come to Cincinnati. We're not really sure if we want him. But wouldn't it be cool if he wanted to come to Cincinnati? Why don't we check and see if he wants to come to Cincinnati? Oh, does he want to come to Cincinnati? Well, maybe we'll ponder the idea of making it, well, maybe this doesn't work, actually. Like there's nothing here. There's no there, as far as I can tell. Now, let's take it to the actual conclusion that Neymar signs, or there's an offer on the table from Cincinnati. Whether he signs it or not, takes the offer. Would that be a good idea for FC Cincinnati, Rob? A team that already has one Brazilian star who doesn't do a whole lot of defending. Neymar ain't going to defend. This is modern football. If you don't have guys defending from the front, you're going to get in trouble, especially with the speed and directness of Major League Soccer. So, are you willing to bring in a guy on millions of dollars a year because his name demands that salary, whether he is at that level or not, in order for him to what? What is he going to do? You're going to put him out there for an hour and see if he can make something happen? Again, with Evander also in this team and questions around their defending now. It's such a weird one for me. So weird.
And Neymar seems like, if you're going to throw a lot of money at an aging player, Neymar seems like a dangerous one for Cincinnati to do, because Neymar, I mean, the reason why his star has faded has been his availability, right? His ability to stay fit has been sporadic at best over the last few years, really since the PSG days, or even before that, even late Barcelona days, where he took so many hits and his body has kind of, failed him to a degree here. But I referenced that, other players have used an MLS transfer similar to this in the past to boost up maybe a transfer elsewhere, or to, maybe increase a contract to wherever he's at. And he even was linked to the Chicago Fire not too long ago, and they referenced that in the story. So between Midwestern cities, Cincinnati and Chicago, which one would you think Neymar would pick between those two? Or if you were a player?
This is going to get me in so much trouble with the good people of Cincinnati, Ohio. Why are you trying to set me up, Rob? What is going on right now? What are you doing? I'm not trying. We're trying
to pump those numbers. We got to make it spicy.
I'm agnostic about the Midwest. All right. Look, the major Midwest cities, and the Midwest is a big place. There's lots of towns that are not major cities that are sure wonderful places to go. I've never been to Toledo. Never been. One day I'd like to go to Fort Wayne. Haven't been. I've never been to Indianapolis. I've never been to Cleveland. Never been to Cincinnati. I have been to Chicago. I have been to Detroit. St. Louis. We're still counting Midwest. That's
that's the gateway. Right? It's the gateway of the West.
Gateway.
I think it's smack dab in Midwest, right?
Midwest too goddamn big. Let's just start with that. Too goddamn big. I like Chicago a lot. I think Chicago has a lot to offer. Obviously, you might not make it to the brand new stadium if you're Neymar at this point in his career, but maybe you imagine you could. It'd be nice to open up a brand new stadium. At the very least, you're playing in, a famous venue, a large venue, if that matters to your ego there. Cincinnati's got great facilities from what I understand. Like in the story at The Athletic about Neymar, it is referenced that Cincinnati believes the club is a destination for global names and U.S. national team stars alike, and has explored potential deals in the past, notably with Weston McKennie, Josh Sargent. Neither of those guys chose Cincinnati. Josh Sargent went to Toronto. Weston McKennie stayed at Juve. So,
that's a weird flex there. And this story has that feeling of like, well, there's a Brazilian there, and, they've swung big for players in the past. So like, it's that like, if then this sort of a connection. And then when you said they reached out in preliminary discussions, does that mean Cincinnati emailed his agent? Are we beyond that with this?
You wonder how they got connected. You wonder what exactly is going on here. It's such a, and I also think about the origin of the inception of the story as written by Paul and Tom, because as you said, you're looking at this cynically with the jaundiced eye, because this sounds like the kind of thing that player agents do to generate in. Look, he's fine at Santos. He signed a new deal at Santos. He doesn't really need this. I guess it's possible he wants a move, or he wants to do a Messi and come to America and maybe make some waves here. He's also trying to get back to the Brazilian national team. I don't know how this lines up with any of that, but what happened here? Let's think about this. Did Tom Bogert pick up a phone, call up Cincinnati, text somebody? Probably texting. He's doing a lot of that shams and Woj stuff. Like, it's all. So did he text somebody he knows? Huh? What?
What's Woj? What?
Woj, basketball. Never mind. Don't worry about it. So,
Oh, okay, I got you. I got
okay.
you.
So, did he text somebody he knows in Cincinnati, like, "Hey, anything new?" And that guy or that person on the other was like, "Yeah, we're looking at Neymar." Was that what happened, or did again? What's the origin? Did somebody choose to text proactively at Tom Bogert or Paul Tenorio and say we're looking at Neymar? Because then a story is generated and it's a nice bit of pub. It's a little kick in the pants for interest around Cincinnati, a team that hasn't started all that well in Major League Soccer this
Yeah,
year. I
good
mean,
point. I was going to say they're middling early in the season, and they have a big budget. So yeah, a little positive PR spike
yeah,
might
and look,
be in the works of the
I
cycle.
see the chat. I see our ultras, big name, but I think it will be a flop. You know,
Not a
again,
member, but Andrew, Neymar to USL is a fun shout.
the crowd goes nuts when he's on the field, but that's all he has done. Look, is he done? He doesn't play enough for me to be comfortable with this from a if this was my team kind of thing. Of course, this is going to lead to that discussion of should MLS be moving on from this kind of signing, Rob? And we're going to talk about it later. Like, if you were wish casting, would you wish cast for anybody out there in world football who's plus 30 and is a big name? But for now, I don't know that I like this. Neymar to Cincinnati.
Cincinnati fans, does Neymar holding a can of Skyline chili seem like an appealing thing and the right move for your club? We are going to talk MLS club rebranding and that MLS player wish list, but we have a poll for our fourth topic of the day. Where are we at on that, Jason, before we move
I
on?
think I'm declaring the poll done. We have 18 votes. 16 of them are to talk MLS local television rights. So
The
let's
people
go
are
through.
talking. The people are talking.
Yeah, this is it's running away with it. So after our final topic today, we'll talk a little MLS television rights.
All right, let's move along. Let's talk MLS team rebrand after a quick break here. Stay with us. Major League Soccer side Colorado Rapids confirmed this week that they will indeed rebrand the team's image, but not the name. They polled their fans and came up with some answers to their questions about how they appear and how they occupy the soccer space out there. And interesting that they'd do a total rebrand of the image, but keep the name.
It's funny to me, and this is not directly about the rebranding thing. We'll get to that they do Dateline. They do they do all the old newspaper style stuff for a press release on the club's website. I don't know. It's funny to me. Commerce City, Colorado. Of course, it's coming out of Commerce City, Colorado. That's where the Colorado Rapids are based, and it's on their website. Anyway, the Rapids confirmed today that the club will reimagine the Rapids brand and visual identity, led by the results of the first phase of the One Club, One Legacy fan feedback initiative. So they engaged 5,000 people, spanning diverse generations. How many generations do you think they got? They got some boomers in there? Think it's some boomers?
Why not? I mean, didn't they shorten the length of generations? So that shortens the gap, right?
No, yeah, all the generations are shorter than they used to be. We
Yeah.
used to have real generations. Now I got these
25
shortened.
years.
Yeah. Comment through a combination of surveys, in-person interviews, focus groups. One that deepens the meaning of the identity Rapids while recognizing and building upon more than 30 years of history. Now, let's put them in their time and their place. The Rapids is an OG MLS brand, just in terms of the name. Now they've changed their badge a couple times. I didn't bring up the old one. You might know it. A lot more green involved. That the blue green. They also had a weird ball thing. I think that was their secondary logo for a while. I actually have. Let me see if I can. So this is the kit they gave me a couple years ago. Obviously, this is the current Rapids logo is right there. And this is in green, obviously, because the shirt is green. It's that maroon color. What do they call burgundy? They call it burgundy, right? So let's work through their further information as posted and see if we have concerns about where this is headed. They want to clarify the purpose and meaning of Rapids, who we are, brand identity. Right now, obviously, Rapids is a reference.
Rapids, I thought that fell under the same blanket as naming it Colorado rather than a specific city. I mean, there's Rapids all across, the state. So I figured that's what it's for, right?
Well, I mean, it's always it's a reference to rapids on a river. You obviously you
Yeah,
can shoot the rapids up there in Colorado. It's a thing
I
that
guess that's
people
half the
do.
state.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's also the thing because where Commerce City is located, there ain't no rapids. If
Yeah,
you ever
what
been out
what
there.
is one of the eastern towns like the Colorado Flatlanders? I mean, that doesn't have the same ring.
Yeah. My mom, my parents are from Colorado. My mom was born in Fort Morgan, Colorado. There are no rapids or mountains in Fort Morgan, Colorado. I can tell you that. That is Eastern Plains as opposed to Western Mountains. Reimagine and modernize the current crest, secondary marks, colors, and imagery to improve focus, consistency, and impact across all platforms. That is way too much marketing speech for a publicly posted update on their brand refresh. But it does boil it down to what we look like. Do we think the Rapids need a what we look like update, Mr. Kerr?
Well, I am trying to think of when I think of the Colorado Rapids, what imagery comes to mind. And I think it's an interesting time to rebrand because there's a balance between like creating legacy and history and imagery that lasts, and to make it last, it has to actually have a lifespan. And so a team that's been around 30 years has already had a couple different looks. So I'm trying to think of what the Rapids already looks like, and there's not like one specific thing. Like you brought out a green shirt, and that's a completely kind of different look than I would expect in my mind. I mean, the burgundy comes up only because that's been one of the more recent colors, but I can understand in a way that they want to, almost like refresh and set the tone again. But yeah, there's the burgundy. I guess that's the color that they want, but it's not like very strong. It doesn't smack you in the face. Like if you ask the general soccer fan, like, what does the Colorado Rapids, look like? I don't think that there's like some very firm or passionate thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of any of these, by the way. I know there is design speak that could pick out why I don't that I'm not a designer. That first one, the original logo, man, that's just I don't know. It's too cartoony, the
Greg in the
actual
chat likes it.
water. I
The
mean, like, if
9601.
you go back to the original and you remember that team at the time, then maybe I understand. I don't know. It screams minor league sports to me, and I know that's unfair because you
I
got
was
somewhere. You
Yeah,
got
it looks like a WHL minor league hockey team.
yeah. Then there's that Roundel one, which is absolute trash. That
Youth
is
soccer.
trash. That
That's
is
a
so bad. And then we get the update, which has been around since 2007. And it is inoffensive, but that's like all it is. It's okay. And maybe badges don't need to be exciting. Maybe
Yeah.
they shouldn't be trying to fill that role. But I do think there needs to be something about them you can hold on to and say that's our identity. This is what the Fire went through, right? When the Fire botched it, fumbled the bag, and did the terrible, terrible rebrand with the weird, what was it? The weird like the Fire rebrand of a
The
couple years
crowns,
ago, Rob.
3 crowns.
Yeah, the three crowns thing, and like obviously just butchering that. They realized, okay, what the thing that people like, attach to us is those Chicago flag colors and the idea of fire as in the fire department, right? Which is the original concept of the Fire. And then they had to go back. They had to engage a new designer after they screwed it up with the three crown weird thing. And they got it better. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's way, way better, right? And they refreshed at the same time. So how do the Rapids go about this? Now, again, like in the information here, there's some quotes. Rapids Chief Business Officer Haley Dermer. They're taking steps to evolve their visual identity and refining who we are, what we stand for. They talk about we heard people. So the one thing it's interesting is apparently 90% of the respondents, here it is, identify with the name Colorado Rapids and don't want to see that changed. And I do like that because I have had issues with clubs in the past dumping a previous identity with a new name, and I felt like turning their back on their history. Now, I'm willing to be proved wrong, and I was proved wrong, I think, by Sporting Kansas City when they did their rebrand back in like 2011. Because and maybe that their history wasn't deep enough. That was like what 15, not even 15 years yet when they did that rebrand. But I didn't like that they went away from Wizards because that's who you were. Just own it. And eventually it becomes normalized to the place of, okay, we're proud of that name. Like, what is a Brown? the hell is a brown? It's named after a guy, and you're just wearing your color's not even brown. It's like this orangey thing.
Yeah.
But you can't take that away from Cleveland football fans. That's who they are. That's the thing they connect with. I just don't know why we have to constantly be in search of something new which only is going to create more problems and sort of reset everybody's ability to identify with the team. So at least they're sticking with the name, Rob?
Yeah, I think that the process is interesting that they're going about it. If they wanted to take this leap of a rebrand, I like that they're trying to include, voices from the other side of the stakeholders. But so they want 90% of folks like Rapids. They all identify Burgundy as the core part. And I don't know if this is corporate speak or if this is really what people were saying, that they wanted a reimagining and not a reinvention. Or is that just semantics there? Like they want to mildly tweak it, but not, throw the baby out with the bathwater sort of
well,
thing.
you got a good point that it feels like semantics, and unless you are actively defining it, and even then you're going to have to be very careful about how you're specific, because the Rapids want to refresh and they think they need to. So they're not going to give the fans the option to say, don't change a damn thing. Well, you can do that. But what I'm saying is like the option to change something has to have the ability to actually change something. So like, okay, they see Burgundy as a core part of the club's identity. Well, that sounds like they're going to go with that. Fine. Stick with Burgundy. 55% are open to updating the crest, plus 30% above average across sports fans. Okay. That's interesting that they're citing statistics for previous research on fans wanting a rebrand. 55%, small majority want that. A clear preference to reimagine, not reinvent the essence of what is the essence of who you are? What is that? What define the essence for me? Is it Burgundy is part of the essence? Is the word Colorado part of the essence? Is the word Rapids part of the essence? What is the essence? Okay, so here's what's next. Over the coming months, the Rapids will continue to work alongside Name and Number. That is Kyle Sheldon's group, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
If people remember Kyle Sheldon, he worked for the DC United, he worked for the Seattle Sounders. Now he's got his own agency. If you're on LinkedIn and you're a soccer person, you will see Kyle Sheldon. Just let me tell you that. Having brought on Modest Works, a strategic design studio specializing in the development of memorable brands to lead the design process. Fans will continue to play a meaningful role in the next phase. Okay, so and then there's the stuff like if you thought that this was them trying to distract you, that they're from other things that might be an issue around the club that fans are asking to be fixed that they're not willing to fix, and they're just going to do shiny object new rebrand. They do mention that they're trying to improve the overall fan experience. I mean, this is a club that has long had owners that have been accused of being pretty spendthrift because they haven't updated the stadium in Commerce City, which is Dick's Sporting Goods Park. They haven't, like, there's a scoreboard issue. It is the bare bones MLS 2.0 soccer stadium, right? It's the one that the Fire abandoned in Bridgeview. It's the one that FC Dallas is now updating with the roof in Frisco, Texas, right? They're out there on the fringes of the community. They're not in Denver proper. They're not getting the vibrancy, right? I think part of this too, with the timing, guys, is that Denver Summit has come in and grabbed all of the attention when it comes to soccer. Or
is it that means is this why they're doing it? Because they saw the outside threats are coming in?
I don't think it's a direct response to Denver Summit. I think they were probably pondering this anyway, but it doesn't, it's not connected to that, right? It's not connected to the idea that Denver Summit has come in and proved that you can capture a lot of soccer attention, and the Rapids were doing none of that. They were just kind of sitting there floating in the water doing nothing. Interesting point from Sluggo about the Colorado market. I haven't lived in Colorado, but I obviously got family connections there. I certainly know how huge the Broncos are. And that's most NFL cities. The NFL team gobbles up most of the attention. But obviously you've got a Denver Nuggets team that's won a championship in recent years, right? The Avalanche, I don't know how good they are this year. I haven't checked on the NHL standings, but they're usually pretty decent, or at least in the conversation. Or they've got some. They have their particular piece of the pie in Denver in terms of attention. And now Denver Summit has come in and again set a record in terms of attendance for a women's game. And they're not going to draw 67,000 every time, but they're proving that you can. And look, and new and shiny matters. But that's what the Rapids are doing. They're going, we can't be new, but maybe we can make ourselves look newer than we actually are. It's a thing, I guess.
That's a good idea, though. You're talking about Denver coming in there, and it's worth following up to see how these games attendance do as we move forward. And we had a USL and basically a men's side expansion check, and we should do the same on the women's side in next week.
Yeah.
I think that's
thank you to CD Gobjects, who is letting me know, because again, I haven't checked the NHL standing. I live in DC. I don't think the Caps are pretty. The whole story about the Caps is whether Ovechkin comes back next year. But apparently the Avs are really good and going to win the points title. So, yeah. All right. That's good.
Well, kudos to you guys out there if you're an Avalanche fan.
Hold on. Are you a Red Wings fan?
Oh, of course. And that's like the best, one of the best rivalries of my childhood right there.
I know. I remember those days when I cared a little bit more about hockey. And I did end up becoming more of a Caps fan than an Avs fan. But of course, when the Avs showed up in Denver and my family had roots there, I was like, all right, let's go Avs. And they won a title, 98, 99, whatever that was. They beat the Panthers, I think, that season. And I remember some of those.
Colorado won the year before the Red Wings won back-to-back in 97 and 98.
Okay, that's what it was. Maybe it was 90, 96, 90, 95, 96, something like that. And I remember, those Claude Lemieux teams really got into it with the Red Wings. So,
Peter Forsberg, Patrick Waugh, the whole days. And then I'll never forget one of the moments that made me, fall for radio and led me down a radio career was there was one of those playoff games where it was a bench clearing brawl, absolutely iconic moment, goalies fighting the whole 9 yards, and it was a payback for a dirty hit from like a year or two before, and it was like this big thing. But my parents had made me go to bed, so I had a radio in my room, and I had listening secretly to this like massive Donnybrook fight all-timer on the radio, which was an amazing call, but great moment there. But interesting approach. We'll see what Denver and Colorado Rapids come up with for their rebrand. We'll follow along as we see more there. We have let's check in on the poll one more time before we go to our MLS wish list. We said that the TV rights story is still well out in the lead there. So we see but that says it connects to more people out there in the country, right? That people want to see, are interested in how to get their MLS.
I think people took it as I had closed the polls. So because of the runaway win for MLS local television rights, they essentially thought I'd closed the poll. If you would like to still vote, you can. It's there. It's active. You type 1 for Argentina Goes SEC playing in Auburn, Alabama, and College Station, Texas. That's the story. Or you go 2, you type 2, and we go MLS local television rights. So I can see the voting is coming in. It's another vote for MLS local television rights.
So for added context, those not into hockey or Detroit versus Colorado history, producer Jenny, we got the producer of the Red Wings in the house, and she knows it all. March 26, 1997, fight night at the Joe. Definitely a light bulb moment for young Red Wings fans indeed. But we got great stuff on the way, so get out your MLS player wish list. We're going to talk all about it. Some dudes naming names here on Morning Kickaround. All right, big question here on Morning Kickaround. I'm Robert. He's Jason. Thanks for clicking on this video. With the Neymar to MLS in the news, got us thinking, if there was no restrictions and, budgets be damned and realities be damned, who is on your MLS wish list? What player or superstar would you like to land on these shores, Jason?
Okay, let's first lay out that we are rational people, right? We are intelligent, and while we don't run soccer clubs, we are smart enough to know that it's probably not a good idea to give lots of money and a long-term contract to a 33 or 34 or 35-year-old guy, no matter how big his name recognition is. Okay? We are both aware of this, right? This is generally not a good idea. However, if there was somebody that you could bring to your club just because you want to see them play for your team in MLS, in America, this is what we're doing, right? We're sort of wish casting. What if you could guarantee that you would get Sun-like effort and quality out of this player? Who
Yeah.
would you want to bring to Major League Soccer? And look, so Riverside Grove is saying Lamine Yamal.
Yeah, I was gonna
Okay,
say
I mean,
the reality be damned. You're taking it to
right.
11 on the reality be damned meter.
That's we're in terms of how dream this is, or how much we're dreaming here. We have to at least base it somewhat in reality. So I do think plus 30 is a requirement here. I think we're got to be talking to guys that are plus 30. Okay. I think the first name, and again, I recognize that's probably not wise, and he slowed down a bit as the season has gone on. But I will maintain that I need at least 1 year of Luka Modric in Major League Soccer. Just 1 year of Luka Modric in Major League Soccer. Do I have a
It's,
club picked out for him? I don't. I don't really have a club picked out for him. Maybe opening up that NYCFC stadium next year. Maybe that's when we get to see Luka Modric playing in Major League Soccer. I don't know.
and to be fair, that's a good shout. Modric has shown more legs this year in Italy than I realized he had left. He was looking like he was on his fumes in the tank his last season at Madrid. So I'm with you there. That would be a cool one to see. I think he's a little bit older, but someone I've always had in the back of my mind was Juan Mata. I think he would have been a beautiful MLS player. He always had the right attitude. You feel like he would just buy in wherever he was. He never, covered enough ground at enough speed to be like the 1A player in the Premier League, but any level below that, he is probably the best player on most teams.
Yeah, Juan Mata. Interesting. You're going Juan Mata. That's you're keeping it a little bit more realistic than I am. Well, no, I think Luca's realistic on some level, but obviously having a job at AC Milan means he's not as likely, perhaps, to join up at MLS. And I don't know what his. I think he probably did only sign a 1 year deal at Milan. Juan Mata is in Australia right now. Rob,
Yep, he is.
Australia. That's
So
interesting.
that's like somewhat of a parallel. So like I guess I'm based on realism there to a degree. And we speculated kind of wildly with the first time when there was a sniff of when Salah was first going through his contract extension drama, like when the show started. And Salah to New York Red Bulls is something that you could see in the New York Post or something like that. Jurgen Klopp connection, retiring or leaving Liverpool to New York Red Bulls seems like a leap that could be conceivable if he's Salah's willing to come to the United States. But you think that he'd want to link up with Klopp again. So there,
Maybe.
could be something there. And I think with his I'm not sure if his effectiveness though, like because he's not fast anymore.
No, he's
Would
fast
he
enough. He's fast
fast
enough for
enough?
MLS.
You think so?
Yeah, he's fast enough. I would say that Mo Salah doesn't have to sign an MLS to work with Jurgen Klopp. He could just do Trivago commercials alongside Jurgen Klopp. He could just be doing television commercials. Yeah, he doesn't have to. Yeah, Mo Salah, Red Bulls, Mo Salah. Man, where else would Mo Salah be interesting? Philadelphia, says Chris. I put that one up earlier. This one, so Bruno Fernandes and Mo Salah. Bruno
Interesting.
Fernandes is interesting. Bruno Fernandes. So, we know that Bernardo Silva is going to be available. It's been announced he's leaving City at the end of this season. Is he a player that? I mean, I think absolutely he would have some fun in MLS. Should somebody make an offer for Bernardo Silva? Mo Salah. The interesting thing about Mo Salah is we know that there were Saudi clubs eyeing Mo Salah 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and willing to make massive offers for him. If he's leaving, and I don't, so I think they're canceling the contract, right? He's going to be on a free. If he's on a free and it doesn't cost him anything to actually get him out of Liverpool, then the Saudis can offer him whatever they want. And if it's money, the MLS is always going to lose out to Saudi Arabia when it comes to money. So it's almost like, are any of these players sort of in between where maybe Saudi Arabia isn't as interested and MLS can really have a shot? Because again, the money is going to be different. Obviously, some players may choose the lifestyle of MLS over the lifestyle of Saudi Arabia. I mean, that's up to them individually. Bernardo Silva to NYCFC. I mean, obviously that makes sense because of the multi-club thing as well.
And he would absolutely destroy. I mean, the control in tight spaces and passing ability would be, outrageous. Kate, I've played French horn with a list of names here. I think the John McGinn and Ollie Watkins are interesting. The Saka, I don't know if that doesn't, that's not in the real world, but I mean that we're wish casting here, right? So that would be
yeah, but I think so. Ollie Watkins is an interesting one. How old is Ollie Watkins now? 28, 29 at the oldest. Like he's
I
still
like
in
the
that
John
place.
McGinn part the
Oh,
best.
he's 30. Ollie Watkins did crest 30. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess technically he qualifies then. He just turned 30 at the end of 2025. But he just scored in the Europa League yesterday. Ollie Watkins strikes me as a player who's just going to end up going back down the table in England for a while.
Yeah, Southampton or something.
Yeah, he's going to end well.
Not them.
Southampton, they're not in the Premier League right now, but he's going to end up in a team that's going to be bottom half, like rather than stick around at Villa. Well, that depends on where Villa goes to. But that's an interesting shout. Bukayo Saka, I mean, he hasn't been informed, but Bukayo Saka is an incredible player. Obviously, we're not really talking about Manuel Neuer to MLS, says Greg.
He'd be interesting, I guess. Does he give interviews in English? I
don't know. I don't really pay attention to Manuel Neuer. He seems like a guy who's just gonna once they pull him out of net for Bayern, he's gonna hang it up. Like I don't think he's coming anywhere else.
He's a Bayern guy more than a player now. Eh?
Yeah, it's not Hugo Lloris. He's a guy that's gonna just die in playing. Die in Bayern colors. Basically, like you have to pry the or cut the jersey off of him, kind of thing.
So somewhat in the more realism-based world, and it reminds me that we didn't talk about this at all, but it's the MK host derby tomorrow, Liverpool and Fulham.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you. How old is Harry Wilson?
Harry Wilson is 30 or 31, I think, at this point.
I think he could really,
no,
maybe he's seconds and thirds.
Maybe he's late. Maybe he's late 20s, but yeah, Harry Wilson is absolutely a player that I would love to see in Major League. He's 29. He just turned 29, actually, so he's still got a full year before he hits 30. Harry Wilson would be incredible in MLS. He's not a name. He doesn't move the needle from a PR perspective.
But he's going to score some bangers.
He would be incredible in MLS. James McClain, Philadelphia. Okay, all right. There are
Paul
a couple
Mullen
of guys
to a championship side.
Oh man, that'd be very funny. That'd be very
Holland
funny.
to Minnesota.
I mean, come on, what are we doing here? Erling Haaland to Minnesota. Oh my God.
I'm surprised this name didn't come up yet. Jack Grealish.
Jack Grealish would be a disaster at MLS because I don't think he's got the effort levels necessary to make it work here,
or the health.
Yeah, well, that's true too. He's been injured, but he's. Yeah, I don't know. Andrew's not an ultra, so I can't put him on screen, but he says Cucho to the crew. That's just pining for a lost for
a lost era.
Love. Yeah. Scored in the Europa League yesterday as well. Or Wednesday did Cucho Hernandez for Real Betis.
So I got two more for you.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's not realistic because he's hitting higher heights than ever before, but just like his effort level and the pressing, and I think his energy level would absolutely destroy in Major League Soccer is Luis Diaz.
Oh my God, come on!
Like he would absolutely just destroy, but then like more in the realism late stage player era. He's already been mentioned on the show once this week, Mr. Paul Pogba.
Mr. Paul Pogba. You would have to give him not a lot of money. He doesn't deserve it. He's not even really a name anymore. Like he's less of his star has dimmed even more than Neymar's has. Neymar actually had some really, really incredible seasons at Barcelona, especially. I mean, people just forget about that. I don't know. I was thinking like the guy who has the perfect profile, but is still entirely too good. And unless he has a massive come down over the next couple of seasons, and even now he's plus 30 and you just wonder if he's one of those guys that's going to do a Lewandowski and keep playing at such a high level that he won't need to consider MLS, is Harry Kane.
Hey.
Right? Like if Harry Kane goes from where he is now to scoring 10 for Bayern in the next 2 years, you could imagine maybe they go, okay, Harry, it's been fun. They might win a Champions League this year. All right, it's been fun, Harry. Here's your trophies. See you later. And he goes, you know what? I'll go kick the tires on playing in America after the World Cup, right? After he plays for England in this World Cup. When I say he'd be incredible, that's obvious. Harry Kane would be incredible, but I mean that I think it would be very fun to see him just knock it around for like 2 seasons at 35, 36 in Major League Soccer.
Yeah. Is Harry Kane the most underrated player in world football? I mean,
is that possible?
I mean, even though like he's highly praised, I still think he's maybe underpraised as well. And I'm trying to think, I could see him in LA Galaxy uniform for some reason.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, there's something to that. Man,
Maybe just because the white tops because of Tottenham.
Yeah, I suppose that. I mean, that makes sense to me for some reason. It's a little Gareth Bale like, although that's LAFC. I mean, obviously Tottenham, and I don't know anybody else that comes to mind here. Like anybody that is like, there are rumors out there, by the way, that Casemiro could land in Major League Soccer.
Does he have the legs?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
Because I mean, if there's anything that we know is required and like kind of is the make or break in a DP player, it's obviously their ability to stay on the field and healthy and their attitude. Like we've seen amazing players not put forth, and then like B+ players be superstars here.
Yeah, this is out of the box a little bit, but I appreciate this from Wes. Gabriel Jesus to Houston Dynamo. Gabriel Jesus would be fun in Major League Soccer. Like, is he ready for that? He's such a weird sort of. Nobody's ever convinced by Gabriel Jesus. He gets hurt enough that it's kind of a problem. He always feels like, oh, that's who Arsenal has to start today, Gabriel Jesus. But there's no issue with his effort, right? No. He's 29. He'll be 30 next year. 29 right now. And probably still has some years on those legs to yeah. Man, I don't know. There's some names out there. There's some names.
But yeah, we've listed off plenty already. And if you're watching this after the fact, throw in your suggestions too. Interesting Mountain to Sea, Dwayne. Oh, congratulations to Dwayne too. His club, Mountains of CFC, getting their first ever win as a club. So shout out to you, Dwayne, and your suggestion to Dan Burns, an interesting one. I don't know if that's really bringing anyone into the seats, but
no, but that'd be fun. Dan Burns would be fun. Yeah, I like that. Man, I think there's some guys in Italy that we should be looking at too. Like Italy,
Turkey. I bet there's Turkey as well.
So I was going to say Canoglu would be fun in Major League Soccer. He's 32, still getting it done in Inter, Turkish national team. But I don't know. Interesting.
All right, so we are going to wrap that up. Like I said, keep your suggestions going, and thanks to everyone in the live chat, Joe Ellington. I mean, if his effort level is there, definitely. You can see when he gets the grip.
He would be a menace in Major League Soccer. He would be a menace. He would be
under on ankles broken on people.
You'd be Hector Herrera on steroids in Major League Soccer with Joe Linton. That would be very fun. All right,
let's move right along with our voted on fourth topic. It was going to be between Argentina's college tour and the Major League Soccer's future on local television, and by a wide margin, we're going to talk MLS local TV rights. So stay with us here on Friday's edition of Morning Kick Around. Welcome in. Hot topic here on Morning Kick Around. One of the big pieces in any successful league in the modern era is the TV rights deal. And that gives you power, beyond anything. And it's a haves or have-nots world out there. And it seems like over the last few years, MLS is in the have-nots category. They made a big move out of local broadcasting and into a one-platform deal with Apple. And then that obviously hasn't gone to plan. They've scaled it down. It's no longer a double paywall, but a single paywall, and it's been shortened. So the future of MLS broadcasting is unknown beyond a couple years away.
First of all, it was never a double paywall, Rob. I just want to make sure people understand it was never a double paywall.
Was that a misnomer on my behalf?
Yeah, because you didn't have to have Apple TV to have MLS Season Pass. You just accessed MLS Season Pass through Apple TV, which confused people. I'll admit it probably confused people, but you only had to pay for MLS. You didn't have to pay for Apple TV. Now, with the way things have gone, you just get Apple TV and then you get MLS Season Pass as part of that.
Fair
You also
enough.
got F1, which is nice if you're an F1 person. I got to
Are
get
you?
back in F1. It's a little bit. Drive to Survive got me going. Yeah, it got me going a little bit. Things are weird this year. Nobody likes the cars. They all suck. Lots of issues. All right. This is what we're talking about here. Brad Sims is the president of NYCFC. And the Sports Business Journal had this write up after he said something at the Sports Business Journal's Business of Soccer conference in Atlanta back in late March. MLS and Apple will end their media rights pact after the 2028-29 season, but don't expect local market rights to revert back to teams. I don't see that happening ever again, Brad Sims, NYCFC's president and CEO, said at this conference. So the thing that I think is more interesting than will clubs get their local rights back is whether that's good. Like, who benefits most from the local rights reverting? And if they don't, what does that mean? So Brad went on. For our market, yes, it would be better, meaning the rights reverting back to the clubs. We were better off financially in a model where we could have local rights. I don't know that's the best for the league as a whole as an enterprise. I think that what was done and how it was built is probably the best path. We have a ways to go in terms of where the owners and where the league thinks the broadcast rates should be. You got to have a product that people want to watch in the US and globally, and so that you have broadcasters willing to pay for those rights. I mean, that's supply and demand. That's economics 101. Duh. Make your product more interesting. Now, that part about we would be better off financially in a model where we could have local rights for the clubs. This is everything about way MLS operates, right? Right? This
Yeah,
is
league over club, right?
they are an NFL model situation, not a Major League Baseball model situation, not an NHL situation. What NBA has NBA TV. I don't know where they are with local rights right now. No idea. All the and obviously part of the deal, part of the thing is, even though Brad is saying this, and it might be better for the clubs, let's acknowledge that the landscape for sports television has completely changed because all of the regional sports nets are basically wiped out. Right?
Yeah, that's
That
a whole nother subject altogether, or like the degradation of local sports viewing, right?
Right. So everybody has kind of had to fill this void with what? Producing their own broadcast, selling their own streaming packages, creating their own channels, things like that. I think there probably are, and obviously, look, there are no sports nets, but there are local television channels that could pick up games and broadcast them. I don't, I'm not in the weeds on the economics here, Rob. I don't know if you have a better sense of this, but it's interesting to me that he's saying it would be better for the clubs to have their local rights when is that how people interact with sports in 2026? Through local television channels?
Not so much, but I think that we've been shuffled away from it. I think that there would still be an audience there. I feel like when this sort of story comes up, it was, voted in as our stories because people care about it. And maybe I just have my history of growing up being able to watch all of my local sports teams on one cable channel. And I miss those days of simplicity. I know a lot of people here in Metro Detroit watch the Tigers, the Pistons, the Red Wings a whole lot less than they did in the past when it was easy to tune on. And like you said, I think you're ensuing that most people are just watching clips and various things on their phone or flicking through social media. But still, like, there is people that exist that still want to just watch television.
Games to have clips, right? Like you have to have a place, and somebody's got to be broadcasting in order for it to be streamed, right? Somebody has to do that. And remember, it used to be that the way MLS worked, if you were, buying the national package or whatever, DirecTV had they had a direct kick, I think it was called, for the MLS package. And then there was, what was it called when they had their own streaming package?
I think it was just MLS Pass, or I paid for. But are you talking about in the teens when you could, there was a whole online setup to that, and then you could watch the local broadcasts.
MLS Live. Yeah, that's what it was called. Thank you, Jenny. It was called MLS Live. Yeah, and I remember loving MLS Live. One thing about Apple TV is it puts everything in one place. And there are plenty of people who say, I'm willing to pay a little bit of money, in this case now for just Apple TV, in order to have all these games in one place. And what Brad is saying is locally it would be better for us financially, but it would make it harder for everybody to watch out-of-market games. right? Because you would have to cobble together the local broadcast into one streaming package or one. So they'd have to go back to the old days of that. Now, you said this earlier, right? With the way MLS is doing this, and after the Apple TV experiment looks like it's going to come to an end, and ultimately be disappointment because Apple's not going to renew it, and we don't know what the numbers are going to be for MLS in terms of what they can drive for their rights. We are probably talking about a Frankenstein's monster of TV deals, right? More
Yeah.
than likely.
Or does MLS? Yeah. Do you think what's more likely? There, a new thing pops up that is just for Major League Soccer. Will Major League Soccer produce it in house, a la MLS Live? I mean,
well, so this is what. So Chris says, clubs streaming their own games, their own marketing, advertising. Is this not how the USL is operating right now? Right, the USL clubs are responsible for their own broadcasts, right? And every league has standards because they want fans to be able to access and watch, and it has to look good and things like that. MLS used to have problems with that, right? And this was part of what the collective. Remember, we went away from the local model so MLS could control everything in house and improve the quality of the broadcast. And now they're outsourcing things to a London, a London producer, and things are weird and all that stuff. They've seen the efficacy of that idea reduced because obviously the interest isn't there enough to justify Apple's spend. And now Apple's saying, well, you got to cut some costs because we're not making enough money on this. I'm presuming that's what's happening here. Right. And by the way, everybody wants to put the responsibility on the lack of interest on television in MLS's lap. And maybe that's true. I mean, look, obviously they bear some responsibility. And of course, we can point to roster building and restrictions on spending and say, this is why MLS's product is not that attractive to people. You could say that maybe promotion relegation is a panacea, would create a lot more interest, and that would drive more television revenue. I don't know. I don't think there's an easy answer for MLS in the current television landscape, Rob. I think going to Apple made sense at the time because it did feel like we were going to over-the-top boxes. We were going to streaming. Everything was heading in that direction. They were probably ahead of the curve there, which I think even Brad mentions in these comments that he had at the Sports Business Journal event. But that doesn't mean that it just fixes MLS's TV problem or their revenue problem coming from streaming.
No, I don't think that it does there, though. But you referenced the old days with the local productions and the various qualities of those productions. But that was part of the fun is, you get the part-time hockey announcer doing the commentary on the games and stuff, kind of the rough around the edges. It was kind of the fun of the appeal to it like 15 years ago or so.
Yeah, that is an interesting thing. Like the local character of broadcasts being completely wiped out.
And I got to learn about random steakhouses in Texas or whatever because they're local.
But it's so strange though because, and I'm just going to speak as an American sports fan. It's not soccer specific because you're bringing up like I grew up watching. I grew up baseball obsessed, and we had cable, and at the time in the 80s and 90s, I was watching WGN, TBS, WWR out of New York with the Mets. Like I was watching regional broadcasts, local production of baseball teams. And so I was getting that local flavor, right? Like I didn't know who Nobody Beats the Wiz. I'm never going to visit that store, but it existed on television for me in New York because I watched the Mets all the time, right? But when you would watch the NFL, because the NFL went to a national model so long ago, when you watch the NFL and you watch those preseason games that the local television outlets would produce, you're like, these are janky. These are terrible. What am I watching here? Well, give me CBS. Give me ABC or whatever. Give me Monday Night Football. So it's like, it depends on how you parse the sport you're watching and what you accept. And I think that in general, because we take so many of our cues as soccer fans from other places, from foreign leagues, like the Premier League and the way it's produced, and obviously since the NBC deal happened, but you're getting sort of that remove. You're not getting a local version of the Premier League. You're not getting a Liverpool broadcast of Liverpool games. You're getting the general broadcast, right? And there might be a world,
the BBC.
Yeah, it's agnostic to the clubs. It's doing the best job it can to present the game in a legitimate way. And I think MLS can't really go back to a local model, not just because of the economics that Brett's talking about, but because it will look minor league again in a way that they don't want to look minor league. You could say they're trying to ape the NFL, and maybe that's the wrong model, but they're also trying to look like the Premier League, right? Yeah. They're also trying to look like big time production of the Champions League or, whatever it is. And, not every foreign league broadcast in English is made equal. I think some of them are kind of dicey. Like, I don't know why all the FA Cup games sound like they're underwater when I'm watching on ESPN, but, it's still this high level of production. And if you go back to locals, you're not getting that necessarily.
Yeah, and that's not like a step forward. You wouldn't think that's like maybe perhaps a regression, or at least a perceived regression at the very least. Good suggestions, guys. Thanks for getting into the comments here with us on Friday. But it looks like we're getting close to bonus time for the members, right? We got a members only subject coming up here.
I mean, if we only got a couple of new ultras added to the rolls today. I think a couple of gift subscriptions were handed out. Do we want to reward the ultras with a little bonus? I guess if you're not an ultra, you're going to miss out. So that's fair. All right, I'll put a clock on it. We're going to go to a members only live stream in 1 minute as soon as you tell me to start the countdown, Mr. Kerr. Are you ready to do that? You ready to say your goodbyes?
Yeah. I think we should say our goodbyes. Give us a minute to get out of here. Next week, we got some good stuff. We got some good guests being cooked up. It's going to be another Open Cup week. A lot of big MLS versus lower league matchups. So I'm excited to talk about those. NYCFC going to Westchester, Chicago Fire coming to Detroit. It's all happening. And in Major League, our MK Ultra Derby, Liverpool versus Fulham. Who's coming out on top on that?
I don't know. I think it's a coin flip right now. The confidence levels in Liverpool, quality is obviously better.
But you guys got a last-second equalizer, if I remember correctly. Wasn't it a Harry Wilson banger, like at the death or something like that, equalize it?
Yeah.
But how long we got left here?
I'm going to start it. Now we have 1 minute. 1 minute to go. 51 seconds, actually.
So thank you, MK Ultra, for supporting the show. If you're unable to support the show monetarily, click and share links to these videos or tell your friend about Morning Kicker. I'm talking about the expansion of the American soccer world, really, as we're always dotting maps here. We're talking expansion. We're talking new teams, rebrands, renderings, and all the sorts in between. So join us online and again next week when we go live. So happy to be back in the chair. We came very close to this show being completely reformatted. So I'm really happy to be live and direct with you once again. You got anything out before we go?
Nope. Let's go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll see you on the other side.
All right. Welcome in, MK Ultras.
Hold on 1 second.